Hi, I'm Autumn,
And I'm Laura,
and together we're
the
the
Boo
Boo Sisters.
Sisters.
Why are you making
I'm
that
laughing.
face?
I'm laughing because we've never done it on video.
It'll be fun to see each other's faces.
I feel like I'm going to be
And
distracted.
our audience right now is like, what are they doing? Right now, audience, we're like sticking our tongues out at each other.
So today is
Okay.
our last episode of this season.
I feel like it's been a long season. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but maybe it's the variety of locations we've done. I just feel like, man, I feel like I've done every type of location this one season.
I actually think it's at least in part because of when we started recording and when we're finally recording this last one. Because
That's probably
more than
true.
any
Yeah.
other season, we've recorded for over a period of probably 3 4 months, 3 months.
Probably at least four, if not longer. Usually I feel like we record within 2 or 3 months
Mm-hmm.
and just like bing, bing, boom.
Mm-hmm.
And this time I feel like we're like, let's start early. And then we skipped a whole bunch of weeks in the middle.
Yeah.
And now we're recording this like the day it launches. Man, yeah, it's been a long go.
But we're here now. Excited. I'm excited to bring you my story today. I don't think it's necessarily going to be the scariest thing, but it's an intriguing tale to tell.
Oh, well, I like mysterious, interesting, twisted stories.
And you know what I've also
So,
found that I really like in our hauntings, which again doesn't usually have to do with a fear factor, but it's when things stand out that are unusual in a haunting. Like, oh, I've never heard about fluttering ghost winged creatures before, or oh, I've never heard about marbles disappearing and reappearing in a house before. That's unique. Whatever it is, like
right,
something
whatever it
that
is
just
that we're
stands
talking
out
about.
to you is that's a really cool, interesting paranormal thing. I wonder why that's happening.
Right. But does this ever happen to you where you're like, I have never heard of that, or I've never read that word in my whole life, and then all of a sudden it's in every book you read? Or you watch haunting shows and you're like, oh, just kidding. That's in every show. Was it 2 episodes ago we were talking about how balloons would be a great investigation tool?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, I've never seen that done. That'd be such a great investigation tool. And since then, I've literally watched 3 paranormal TV shows that use balloons.
I
And I was
told
like, oh.
you. I knew you'd find
So,
that one. But you know what? It introduces the idea. So maybe it makes you not just more aware, but more appreciative of that unique thing that they've done. Because
the
otherwise, you'd
uniqueness,
just be
yeah.
watching the show, whatever it is, and you'd see that and you wouldn't develop the connection from the story that was told.
Right, you wouldn't register it as
Mm-hmm.
something interesting. Okay, so on a positive, uplifting note, we have some exciting news to share with our Brew Crew family. If you haven't listened to last week's episode, go back and do that because inside the Wild Wild West episode, I talk about Dorsey the dog who was in Calico mining town in California and his wonderful story, which was just he was a stray dog and so cute. And I'm not going to retell the whole story. You'll have to go listen to it. But he ended up becoming
A
the
male
first,
pooch.
yeah, the first United States Post Office worker dog. He's probably like
On
the
four
best employee.
paws.
Yeah. And he carried mail between the mining towns and we loved his story. In fact, Laura kind of notes like, oh, there should be a memorial like Balto to him or something like that. After the episode, we were like, yeah, there should be a memorial or something.
Actually, it was in the middle of the episode. We had like an hour-long discussion about how there should be this memorial,
And
and I
you
had
guys,
to edit it out of our
yeah, we cut
podcast.
that
Yeah.
because no one wants to hear us talk for an hour about this Dorsey Memorial. But we ended up contacting San Bernardino County and having a little meeting with them. And it seems like we might be moving forward with actually helping them fund a memorial to Dorsey. Yay! Yay! This is going to be a Boo Crew sponsored memorial that we're going to have done. And we don't know the specific details or how we're going to try to raise money, but we wanted to let you guys all know that this is probably going to happen. And we really are going to encourage you to follow us on Instagram or Facebook and listen to upcoming episodes that will begin again this summer to make sure that you're aware of how you can support this Dorsey Memorial and be a part of that Boo Crew initiative to help Dorsey's story really get out there.
And we think it would be so much fun to be a part of something actually permanent in the world. All of us together doing something good and having this history that we didn't know about as girls going to Calico because there was no memorial yet.
Right. And that's what this podcast is really about, is focusing on not only the deaths, but focusing on the legacy that people and animals leave behind. It takes everyone to care about the little things to make good happen in the world. So stay tuned for more details.
Yeah, stay tuned. Check back in. We might have more information on a future episode, but if not, you can definitely find information on our socials, as Autumn already mentioned. So keep up with that so that we can all make this happen, make it a reality.
Woohoo, Dorsey.
We need like a Dorsey jingle now.
Why does Dorsey seem like a horse name to me?
Because it
Every
rhymes
time.
with horsey. I don't know.
Yeah, that's probably why.
Dorsey the horsey.
The
Yeah.
jingle is Dorsey, the mail-carrying dog.
The end.
Okay. So, jumping into our stories, I think now.
Yes. I believe I'm
And
going first this
yeah,
time.
you get to go first.
And it's a free choice day, so it's not Wild Wild West anymore.
You know what's funny? I almost did a Wild Wild West story.
Did you?
Because I found so many good ones. Our last episode, I was like, oh, I'll just save all of these. And I almost did one.
We might have to do a revisitation of Wild Wild West.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll start. In South St. Louis looms a beautiful Victorian Italian estate with high brick walls and an ornate facade that hides the darkness within. Disembodied voices wail and whisper through halls that once held laughter and dancing. The chilling caress of death lingers, chasing a shiver down your spine. A fleeting shadow races up the stairs. A glass object shatters on the floor. Footsteps echo into silence. A gaunt face caught in the throes of death stretches out from the wall. This is Lemp Mansion in St. Louis, Missouri.
Ooh, where have I heard this?
It's a popular one. You probably have heard of it. I mean, it's been investigated a bunch by people.
Okay, probably on my list.
Lemp Mansion, which once began with a dream, has now evolved into a place of nightmares. Upon arriving in St. Louis from Germany in 1838, Johann Adam Lemp first built a small grocery store which sold household items, groceries, and homemade beer using a recipe passed down from his father. The dream was to build a brewing empire, and Johann saw St. Louis as the perfect place to do just that. Why, you ask? Because St. Louis possesses a unique natural advantage for brewing, namely that the entire city sits on a vast network of limestone caves.
Oh my
Autumn.
gosh, Laura, I literally almost did this in Missouri, right?
Yeah.
I almost did the actual underground storage.
You could do it because I didn't focus on the underground storage. I focused on the mansion.
That would have been a perfect connection to be like, and I did the underground storage made of limestone. I almost did it so much as to like, I started researching it
Mm-hmm.
and discovered not a lot of people had investigated
Yeah.
the actual storage facilities and tunnels yet. And I was like, oh,
Mhm.
there's not a lot to go on here.
But there's so
So,
many more tunnels than what are connected to this story that I'm telling because they're under the whole city. And how is it not something that we've heard about before? Like the whole freaking town is sitting on limestone caves.
right.
That should mean that there are like a million hauntings in St. Louis.
Right. And I just heard about these caves this past week when I started researching for our last story. And I was like, what? And also, why has no one gone to investigate the caves?
Yeah.
Maybe they're
Well,
not allowed.
I do know that the part connected to the mansion, which I'll talk about, that the Ghost Adventures crew did go into.
Oh,
I
okay.
also happen to know that part of the caves are maybe not the property of, but that they have a Native American connection. So they could
Mm,
be part of Native American land or something too,
okay,
and off
interesting.
limits. But anyway, I was amazed that I had not heard of this, that the fact of St. Louis is on limestone, like the whole place. So I'm thinking immediately that this is grounds for all kinds of hauntings, but specifically residual hauntings,
Yeah,
right?
that's so interesting.
If you know other things about it, feel free to pipe in too.
I know nothing.
So the thing about these limestone caves in the realm of brewing is that they're able to maintain a constant cool temperature year round, which is perfect for the cold storage that lager brewing requires. And thus, Johann Lemp, which I'm probably saying wrong, it's probably Johann, but it's with a J. I don't know, guys.
Yeah,
Johann Lemp.
it's Johann.
Johann? Okay, my bad.
Yeah.
Johann Lemp was able to store his German beer without concern, and in 1840, Lemp's Brewing Company was born. When Johann passed away in 1862, his son William took over. William was said to be a business genius with ruthless drive for money and power. Under his leadership, Lemp Brewing Company became more than a business. It grew into an entire empire, the country's fourth largest brewery, and a direct competitor with Anheuser-Busch, which is also crazy.
Too bad it's not Coors, because that would have correlated to episode number 1 or something.
There were several people, men, that he knew that were starting these companies all around the same time. And one of them, I think, was Coors. I would have to
That's
look that up to
so
be
interesting.
sure. But it was like the Bush guy. And then there were like two other guys that were also doing beer that were bigger name people in the industry. And he helped them like start up their businesses as well.
That's weird.
It is kind of cool though.
The American dream,
Mm-hmm.
beer and limestone caves.
And yep, for sure. The Lemp family seemed to have it all: prosperity, power, influence. And with some of their well earned gains, William eventually bought Lemp Mansion in 1876. The 33-room mansion was the perfect blend of comfort, class, and business sense because of its proximity to the brewery and the caves they used for storage. And for the next 30 years or so, William Lemp continued to expand the mansion and add the most opulent furnishings to accommodate his growing happy family. He even constructed an underground tunnel from the mansion through the caves to the brewery so that he could go to work without ever having to step outside. At different points in time, sections of the caves were also used as an auditorium, a theater, a swimming pool, and even a bowling alley.
Ooh, that's so weird.
There's one place that the Destination Fear crew goes to that has that
Yes,
bowling alley.
that was what I was saying, where Chelsea cannot spend the night. Like
Yeah.
it's the only place she's ran out of is the
Mm-hmm.
bowling alley. Ever since then, I'm scared of bowling alleys.
Oh, all bowling alleys?
Yeah, I think of that episode every bowling alley I step into.
At their peak, the Lemp family was one of the wealthiest and most influential in the state. William and his wife Julia had 9 children, and the family held lavish parties. They shook hands with others from high society in their parlors and their dining rooms with their fancy draperies and napkins and all the things that you think about when you think of parties that were kind of in the same or a similar era. Like I always think about, for me, it's like Pride and Prejudice or Bridgerton or something like that. And while this came after that, that's what I think of, like high society, right? Everybody's rubbing elbows with each other that are the wealthy and the affluent and making business deals and that sort of
Oh,
thing. But darkness stirred at the edges of this attained American dream. One of their sons, Frederick, suffered health problems from birth. Some believe he had a developmental condition such as Down syndrome, but the records here are not clear. What is well known from the record is that Frederick was kept in the family shadow, quietly hidden out of view, considered a shameful secret at a time in which it was not uncommon to conceal children with disabilities.
oh. That's such a dark period in our history
Yeah, it really
of
is.
hiding people that had disabilities.
And you'll find as I continue on in this story, more and more that this facade that they created of this high society family that was super happy and everything was going right and they had the American dream, it was like all of these secrets hidden under that. Like all of this darkness hidden below.
That's so sad.
A note to listeners, my story does include several references to suicide and the potential of child
Mm.
abuse. So,
It's like another Gettysburg orphanage.
no, it's not that bad in that way. That was like torture and that's not what this is. But just a heads up. So if that's not something that you are okay hearing, that's okay. You can skip ahead to Autumn's. Autumn's like,
Waiting for
no,
me.
just kidding, because actually mine has that too. No, I'm just kidding. I made that up. I don't know what yours has.
We'll just save that for later. If you don't like kid tragicness,
Oh
probably
gosh,
just
not
skip this
again.
whole episode.
Okay. At the turn of the century, something shifted in the Lemp household. Frederick died in 1901 of a supposed heart condition. He was only 28 years old, and some say he was also the father's favorite. That single death was the first of not two, not three, not four or five, but 6 deaths, all within the same family in a 50-year span.
Whoa.
Yeah, we have a ways to go with this history, so prepare yourself. 3 of those are suicide within the house.
Okay.
It starts with William Lemp, who was the family patriarch. He was the first to perish. He grew despondent after his son's death. That loss, combined with the loss of another close friend, who I believe his name is William Pabst of Pabstbeer, was thought to lead William to commit suicide in 1904. He was found dead next to a .38 caliber revolver in his bedroom in the mansion. There was no note, no explanation, only a grieving family with the loss of their leader. William Jr. stepped in to fill his father's shoes. He had the business acumen and the brewery continued to thrive. But the man was moody and withdrawn. His wife Lillian, nicknamed the Lavender Lady for her obsession with the color, was the polar opposite, a bubbly socialite who loved parties and attention. He supposedly tired of his quote-unquote trophy wife and made some bizarre demands, like giving her $1,000 a day to go shopping with the ultimatum that she would get no more if she did not spend all on a single day.
What? Why would that be a punishment?
It's not a punishment. He was trying to like busy her and keep her out of his hair. I think it'd be actually hard, not today probably, but to spend $1,000 back at that time period per day.
What is 1,000 back then today?
31,000?
Okay, maybe they meant $1,000 in today's money. He's not giving her $31,000 a day.
I don't know. They had tens of millions.
Back then,
Yeah.
I
Okay.
would just buy a car every day. Convertible, Hummer,
And
truck.
put them in the limestone caves. You're like,
Yeah,
perfect.
why? That's what they're there for.
So anyway, he gave her this ultimatum that if she did not spend the full amount every day, she would get no more. Meanwhile, while she was shopping and socializing, he hosted parties in the entertainment sections of the caves with all those different places I told you about, like the bowling alley and the pool and the everything, with all manner of illicit activities, including the presence of prostitutes to entertain him and his friends.
Wah, wah, wah.
He was known as a player, and after accusations of cruelty, bizarre behavior, and infidelity, they eventually divorced in 1908. At that time, divorce was a rarity, and it became one of the largest scandals in St. Louis history. The trial opened in February of 1909 to crowds that flocked to the courthouse each day to witness the drama unfold. Tales of violence, drunkenness, atheism, and cruelty.
Oh my gosh. Can you imagine going through such a devastating time in your life and your relationship and it being like a fanfare?
Yeah.
I mean, oh, wait. Like literally, we have those kinds of trials on TV today.
Yeah, we really do. They weren't celebrities, but they were almost celebrity status. Like they had that status in the society
Right.
they were a part of. So it would be kind of like that. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But William Jr. had one other dark secret that he kept an illegitimate son locked in the mansion's attic. He was the product of one of his prostitute parties.
Probably a prostitute came and was like, here is this baby. If you're a prostitute and that's your profession, I'm just thinking that'd be really hard to know.
It's also possible he had a mistress that was a lady who wasn't a prostitute who just attended the parties and was with him.
Yeah, his like girlfriend that
Mm-hmm.
he's like, oh, that's a prostitute. It doesn't mean anything.
Right. So, like Frederick, the boy, the son of William, likely had developmental disability, and William hid him to avoid more scandal. Or perhaps William harbored hatred for his brother, who, despite his disability, had been his father's favorite. So, therefore, he would have blamed potentially that brother, Frederick, for his father's death as well, causing him to cage his own son for having that similarity. What he potentially hated about his brother, he saw in his own son.
Yeah.
So the boy was raised in near isolation and was only attended by servants and maids and a nanny. Two of those people were actually interviewed before they passed away. And so they got accounts from those people that a boy really truly did exist in the attic. They also found references in family journals before the journals were destroyed. And the reference just simply said, like, the boy in the attic.
Oh,
That's how he
wow.
was called.
Is there going to be what happened to that boy?
Yes.
Like, oh, okay.
We don't know for sure, and I will say this later on too, that we don't know how he died, but he did die in the mansion, and he was buried with a single grave marker in their family cemetery plot that just says the last name Lemp. It's the only one that's marked that way. Like the rest of them have their actual names on them. It's kind of
That's
sad.
so sad. He probably didn't have any name.
People in the paranormal community have come to call him Zeke. I don't know why, but I didn't use it here because it's not something that was provided in the documentation.
Okay.
So Prohibition dealt a heavy blow to the brewery, which closed its doors in 1922 when William Jr. sold it for just $588,000 after it had been valued at tens of millions prior to 1920. William Jr. shut down the plant without notice. One day, the workers just showed up to find closed doors and locked gates, and thus the empire fell. Can you believe that?
Oh,
So like you're
yeah.
working there and that's your income. And for those people, like they were not well to do. That was how they survived and lived day to day. And you show up one day and your work is just suddenly closed with no notice, no reason.
That's horrible.
The collapse of Lemp's brewing company sent the Lemp family further into a down spiral. The third Lemp death came in 1920. Elsa, one of William's daughters, shot herself in her nearby home in St. Louis after two failed marriages of her own, although there's some speculation that her husband might have actually shot her. According to rumors, however, she was emotionally unstable, and people think it's possible the entire Lemp family might have had that same emotional instability due to genetics, or growing up in the Lemp household, or possibly something darker, such as a curse, which it might have existed in their home.
Interesting. I bet you it is genetic, right? If you have people with addiction or substance abuse issues,
I think you can
or
have a predisposition to have a different chemical makeup, a
yeah.
different way that your body handles or doles out things like dopamine, which is the like happy neurotransmitter. It's the happy drug in your system, the happy chemical that exists that your body gives out as in a response to things like something that you like a flavorful food or doing an activity that makes you happy. So it could be something like that. Like if they had a predisposition to not take in that dopamine the right way and not receive it or
Right.
not express it, then they could be more predisposed to things like depression.
Right.
So
I think so.
yeah, it could be genetics.
And especially back then at that time where that wasn't even a thing. Depression wasn't even existed, right? And we for sure didn't have the medical capabilities of being prescribing medicine.
Depression existed, but the word sometimes was things like melancholy. You have a bout of melancholy.
What I'm saying is like documented, or what's that word?
Diagnosed.
When you're diagnosed depression. Yeah.
2 years later, in 1922, which is just 1 year after closing the brewery, William Jr. shot himself in the heart in his office in Lemp Mansion. In that single year from the time that it closed, he had become a recluse, rarely leaving the household and perhaps haunted by his family's past glories. Like his father, he was found with a .38 revolver in his hand.
Wow.
That left only two brothers, Edwin and Charles. along with William Jr.'s illegitimate son still in the household. However, Edwin and his wife moved to an estate in Kirkwood to live out the rest of their days. Charles was more eccentric, preferring the company of his dogs and staying in his longtime home at Lemp Mansion. His brother's illegitimate son continued to be housed in the attic until the son died and was buried in the Lemp cemetery plot with a grave marker that says only Lemp. In 1949, at age 77, Charles also shot himself in the head. Like his brother and
Oh my
father before
gosh.
him, he was found in his bedroom in the mansion. It was also discovered, and unfortunately, I'm sorry guys, but it was also discovered that he had shot his beloved Doberman Pinscher.
No!
Yeah,
We just talked about how we are
we
here to
love dogs.
memorialize dogs.
I hate this part of the story, so that's all the detail I'm going to give you. And you can find more detail if you want to about why or how that happened and what people think happened. But honestly, it's too sad for me. I read some detail that I was just like, this is too devastating. I'm not even going to put this on the podcast.
I'm
So
kind of curious though as to why anyone would shoot their dog. I'm sorry, I know people shoot people they love all the time, so I should like question this.
my theory is that he did it because there was nobody left to take care of the dog. And he knew that the dog would just be thrown out into the street or something. And he didn't want that to happen.
Okay, I understand.
Dogs are too good for us, honestly. We
Yeah.
don't deserve them. Okay, so the strangest part about Charles's death was the instruction that he left. It wasn't a note, it was instruction that he wanted no funeral, no mourning, no grave marker. He wanted to be cremated and scattered as if to erase his entire existence. I mean, that's weird, right? He didn't want to be a part of his family cemetery plot or anything.
I don't know if it's weird because I actually want to be cremated and scattered somewhere, and I probably feel like a lot of people do. But my draw to that is kind of I become one with the earth and I'm everywhere. Like
Mhm.
everywhere in nature is a memorial to me.
I don't think it was the same sort of feel from his instruction, but it's hard to know anybody's reasoning for something, right? I mean, he didn't say, I don't want this because I would really just like to be a part of nature. If he had, that would explain some things, but there was nothing like that. All right, moving on. So when Edwin, who again had moved out of the house, eventually died in 1970, the Lemp line died with him. No children. He gave instruction to his butler to burn all of the paintings the Lemp family had collected, along with the priceless Lemp family documents and artifacts, almost as if he too was trying to erase his family from history.
Weird. I just don't know why.
I don't either. It's strange. So the Lemp tragedy spanned 3 generations, but would be enough to leave an imprint of sadness and despair within the mansion for decades to come. Some believe the souls of the family members are still trapped there too, bound to relive their grief and replay their tragic fates. Since 1977, Lemp Mansion has operated as a restaurant and inn, with paranormal experiences documented from the very beginning. As soon as you enter, there's an eerie weighted silence that seems to smother you. You might hear the distant notes of a piano or the chime of a clock no longer there. Employees working at the mansion's restaurant report poltergeist activity, including objects moving, falling from shelves, or being thrown across the room, often followed by the sound of footsteps, almost as if someone tries to get your attention before storming away. These object interactions include slamming doors, movement of heavy furniture, glasses flying into the wall or onto the floor and shattering, and in one instance, a maid was cleaning and left the master bedroom only to return and find all of the paintings in the room suddenly hung upside down.
There's no explanation for that.
Bizarreness.
Let's say that is paranormal for a second. Imagine the physical force of power that takes to do that.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Like I can't even fathom it given what we think we know about paranormal entities.
I
But
sometimes think when this kind of experience is documented and firsthand account is given of something like this, that maybe it's an over exaggeration because I could see things happening where if somebody like slammed a door hard, or even if there was something paranormal where let's just say a spirit figured out how to hit the wall hard because we hear bangs and stuff all the time. And maybe the the pictures and the paintings are heavy enough that they shift, and they shift enough that it's truly bizarre how they shift on the wall, but maybe not completely upside down. And
Yeah.
then the telling of the story gets to the point of, oh no, and then she came back and they were all upside down. But it started off
Right.
as she came back and all of the pictures were knocked sideways, or she came back and all of the pictures were tilted or whatever.
Right. We're really good at exaggerating as humans, so that
Mm-hmm.
makes sense.
Because it makes for a better story. Ghostly figures are another common occurrence. William Lemp Sr., the patriarch of the household, haunts the master bedroom with cold spots and a feeling of being watched. Some report feeling tangible dread or paranoia, as well as headaches, nausea, or dizziness. Guests have also awoken in the middle of the night to the sound of a gunshot, the residual echo of his suicide.
Wow. I mean, I bet you that for sure happens more often than not because of those limestone.
Mm-hmm.
And that's such a loud, tragic, explosive memory that it's probably for sure replayed over and over.
The apparition of William Jr. wanders the entire building, but spends the most time pacing in his study in the basement. Several witnesses have heard a deep male voice and footsteps. They've also found drawers open, papers scattered, or smelled cigarette smoke in the area. Even more frightening, they've seen a distorted crying or screaming face appear and stretch out from the wall as if his spirit is trapped in the very foundations of the building.
Oh my gosh, that's horrifying.
I think
Ugh.
I think he was the most dark energy and spirit there. I know that there's a lot of darkness and a lot of story that I told you, and I'm not just saying that because of like a suicide. I'm saying as a person, the life that he lived seemed the darkest.
Yeah. Well, then it would make sense that that negative energy is trapped. Even the energy itself knows it's trapped. So what it can act out is like a trapped expression. Ugh.
And that face is supposed to be in the basement where the limestone caves begin. So
Oh,
it could
gee
even be in the
whiz.
limestone.
I just got the actual shivers.
Lillian Lemp, aka the Lavender Lady, despite not dying in the mansion, has been felt unseen within its walls. Lillian's potent floral perfume seems to be perpetually misting through the air, sometimes as a prelude to her other activity. Visitors have seen a full apparition of a woman in a lavender dress or a light colored dress, moving most often on the stairs. She appears so normal that guests have even mistaken her for a living person.
It's one of those apparitions again where people are like, "Oh, hey, bye."
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Like, oh,
"Oh, did
what?
you see that lady? Cool.
Yeah, is that your maid, your housekeeper?
Is that your child?" I feel like we have that all the time.
With the children, yeah, for sure.
Your child is so well behaved. Oh, thanks. I don't have any children.
Then there's a tall, slender shadow figure in the mansion's upper rooms that's said to be Charles, pacing in worry or guarding something, maybe William's son in the attic. People have also heard the faint woofs and nail clicks of a dog walking across the hardwood floor.
Yay! I was hoping there would be a dog ghost, like that he's still home hanging
Yeah,
out.
I hope
Oh,
so. I hope it's in a I'm home and this is where I belong and I'm happy here sort of way.
what a cutie.
The attic, rumored to have been a kind of prison for William's illegitimate son, has also been a hotspot for small shadow figures darting around, the sound of running from the rooms below, and the occasional laughter of a small child, the most disturbing of which are attributed to what they call, and unfortunately, again, disabilities now are treated much differently, but a lot of people call this entity the monkey-faced boy. He's a small hunched form with a distorted face who is known for hiding and peeking around corners or doorways as if shy or frightened. He's most often seen in the basement and attic, and paranormal investigators think it's the son who is kept hidden in the attic. They think it was Z.
I have a couple questions. We have no pictures or references of how this boy was like mentally different, right?
He could have had a physical and mental disability. It could be one or the other or both. We don't know.
It would make sense that this entity is finally out of the attic and is like exploring, but also very hesitant and scared because the attic was his whole world,
Mm-hmm.
right? And all of a sudden he's like, oh, I'm like a little bit more free. which ironically is opposite, I think, of what we usually run into where an
Hmm.
entity is like stuck to a location.
Feeling trapped. Yeah.
Yeah.
It could be that in life he actually did get times where he went around and like got to sneak around and play and look around in the mansion, and that those aren't documented, you know?
Yeah.
And it could be that he was supposed to keep like a low profile, or maybe he snuck around himself, like he got out and snuck and then he got in trouble for it. What I'm saying is it could also be a residual haunting too of him doing that.
Right.
One first-hand account of the mansion I found said this of the attic. We arrived at the mansion at around 8:30 p.m. Neither my husband nor I had ever been in the attic, so that's the first place we headed. Already creeped out because of the darkness and the silence, our group soon reached the end of the long hall where the quote monkey boy was kept. However, as we turned around to leave, all four of us got instant chills. Then we heard a little boy say, "Come play with me." I told my brother to shut up and stop being dumb, and he responded, "I didn't say anything." That's when I heard it again. "Come play with me." I then turned to my husband, saying the same thing to him as I said to my brother, and he said, "That wasn't me. It's time to go."
Oh my gosh, like they all heard it and were like, stop blaming that on me. We
Yeah.
gotta get out of here. Oh, geez. But that poor boy,
Yeah, he just wants
instead
to
of
play with
being
somebody.
scared, they should have just talked a little bit to him.
There are some iterations of this story where people say that the monkey face boy is a demon. I don't believe that. So I didn't put that in here. But
Yeah.
if you're somebody who goes into a place that's believing some real life person or entity was a demon or is a demon, I think that that's the wrong angle to take, because you will always be scared and not treating them with the humanity and dignity that they deserve.
Yeah. It doesn't seem like, from what all the interactions you just told me of this little boy, it doesn't seem demonic in any way.
I agree. I don't think so either. But it's easy to be scared going into an attic or a basement or in anywhere that's dark and creepy and you
Right.
hear a voice. It doesn't matter if you see anything, even that much is enough to be freaked out. And if you don't know the full story, I can see being more scared that way too.
Okay, so that story you just read reminds me of a story, a paranormal experience I had probably like, I don't know, 14, 13 years ago now. And James and I went to Ocean City, Maryland, just for a weekend. We were there for a couple nights. We stayed in one of the oldest hotels that was right on the boardwalk of
Mm-hmm.
Ocean City, which I think there's one, maybe two that are on the boardwalk. The rest are shops. And we were laying in bed together early in the morning. So we're in that stage where you're not sleeping, but you're
Mm-hmm.
not fully awake. You're like, oh, I'm coming out of sleep.
Mm-hmm.
It's so cozy and snuggly. And I hear a whisper, and it sounds like it comes between James and me, which isn't much space, right? I'm like in his little shoulder nook, snuggling, and his face is like right by my face. But the whisper seems to come like from right there by our
Mm-hmm.
faces. And it says, I'm so excited.
Ew, that's so
It says
gross.
it like that as a whisper. And James is like, what did you say? And I said, I didn't say anything. I said, I thought I was partially dreaming, but the fact that you heard something freaks me out. And I was like, what did you hear? And he said, I heard you say you're so excited. And I said, yeah, that was not me. And we both immediately jumped out of the bed and
Mm-hmm.
like are trying to figure it out, right? We're trying to debunk it.
Jumped
We're
out of
trying to
the
be
bed
like,
and what? What did you look for?
we're like putting our ears against the wall to see if like the neighboring room has whispering sounds coming out of it. We like looked in the bathroom, just in case that was next to the
Did
bed
you
to see
look
if like
under the
anyone was in
bed?
there. Ew, creepy.
You
I don't
didn't?
know.
They were
No, I don't.
probably under the bed.
Oh, that's
That's
even
the
creepier.
first place I would have checked.
I think James did look under the bed. I'll have to confirm with him, but I think it happened. I think before that, James did not really believe in paranormal things.
Mm-hmm.
And, we had been dating at this point for a year or two, and he obviously knew I was a big paranormal fan and had told him, like, oh, paranormal stuff happens to me all the time. Certain
Mm-hmm.
people, I think, are just gravitated to it. And it was that experience that I think turned him to the dark side. And he's like, okay, there's no explanation for that. And then since then, he's been privy to some other paranormal experiences
Hmm.
with me and is definitely now a true believer.
But I think he's more of the skeptical side of believer, sort of like I am. I think he tries to explain away some stuff when he can, debunk things, which
Yeah,
is
he
good.
definitely,
Everybody should try to debunk
yeah,
things.
he definitely does. And he's always like, oh, that was such and such, or that was that. But
Hmm.
there's been some experiences like that one
Hmm.
where we just cannot explain it. But going back to your story, it just reminds me of the voice coming from nowhere where
Hmm.
there's just no
And you
explanation from
think
it.
it's the person you're with, and they're like, no, it wasn't
No.
me.
Right. And
But
they're
I
like,
heard it
as
too. Let's
as
get
like
out.
right. And that's James's face was horrified, right?
Yeah.
Shocked. It had to be you.
I have one other funny story. I went through a bunch of firsthand accounts. There are tons of them, but the one that I picked out is the only one I picked to really single out. But this other account is a really short one that I think is hilarious. It's not a paranormal experience, but it has to do with paranormal investigation at the Lemp. So this guy said, I took my wife there on Valentine's. You know what I'd rather not have after taking my wife out for a dinner, drinks, and returning to my room on Valentine's Day night? A bunch of ghost nerds sneaking around right outside my door with sensitive listening equipment. This guy's hilarious.
He's
A bunch
literally
of
there
ghost nerds sneaking around with sensitive listening equipment.
trying to like have a romantic night with his wife, and people are like, shh, did you hear that? Oh gosh. That's
Right.
so great. I love it.
Life magazine once named Lemp Mansion one of the top 10 most haunted places in the country. The mansion has appeared on Ghost Hunters, Ghost Adventures, Paranormal State, and other paranormal programs. Each investigation has produced compelling evidence of the paranormal, from EVP recordings and EMF responses to personal experiences from the investigators. The volume of evidence collected at Lemp Mansion over several decades makes it one of the most documented haunted locations in the world. Whether you believe the Lemp family remains or not, the rooms continue silently telling the story of love, grief, and death. Lemp Mansion stands today as a somber reminder that legacies can crumble overnight, even when their buildings are preserved.
I love that. It kind of goes back to the beginning of this episode where these stories that we're retelling are also a preservation of the past.
Autumn, what is your boo rating for Lemp Mansion?
I'm going to say a hard 3.
Hard three. Are there soft threes?
A soft 3 is like where I'm verging on one of the other numbers.
Okay. So a hard three is like an upper three on the edge of four, as in it would be
Yeah.
closest to like a soft four, a hard three.
Right. A hard 3
Okay,
is like a 3.5.
got you.
I don't feel like the entities are particularly menacing, and I don't think I would be scared to go investigate there, and I would stay the night, which is
Hmm.
why it's not a 4.
I would also give it a three. I teetered on a four. I hate the places that are the sad ones. For me, that's the worst. I think I would be most susceptible to going in somewhere and feeling the pain and sadness, even in a residual sense or an imprint sense. I don't think that that's somewhere
Mm,
I would enjoy going to investigate, but I would do it. It's not somewhere I'm scared of, so that's why I'd still give it a three.
that makes sense to me. I feel like you have that sixth sense energy where you're continually empathetic, so
Mhm.
even past feelings can permeate. That's my new word. Why isn't that a word? Are you
We should
sure?
have a word of the episode. Every episode, we should have a new an autumn word vocabulary.
It's permanent.
Permeate is the word you're looking for.
Okay, well, I like my word better.
We can use yours.
It can be like, instead of Urban Dictionary, it's like Autumn Dictionary.
Oh, I thought you were gonna give it some other title, like the Blonde Girl Dictionary.
Oh, that's pretty good. We can do that.
I'm excited to hear yours. You're gonna round
Okay,
out our season.
the final story of the season. Okay,
I don't know why
I.
angelic sounds. That's not what we want.
It is the summer of 1929. The air is thick with heat, and the sweet, sticky scent of cotton candy drifting lazily on a mountain breeze. As you step through the wooden gates, the world behind you fades, replaced by sounds of laughter, music, and the rhythmic clatter of rides in motion. Children weave between adults with paper tickets clutched tightly in their hands, eyes wide, faces flushed with excitement. Ahead, the Ferris wheel rises above the tree line, its metal frame creaking softly as it lifts riders high enough to see the rolling hills of West Virginia stretch endlessly into the distance. The breeze up there is cooler, cleaner, but down here the air hums with energy. A man in suspenders calls out from a game booth, inviting you to try your luck. Glass bottles clink as rings bounce harmlessly away. Nearby, the crack of a rifle echoes from a shooting gallery. A crowd gathers around a dusty performance ring where actors in cowboy hats and fringed jackets reenact shootouts and daring rescues. Boots stomp, horses snort, and blank shots ring out, sending a thrill through the audience. For a moment, it feels real, like you've stepped straight into a frontier story. If the heat becomes too much, there's always the swimming pool, a massive, sparkling oasis carved into the park. Families lounge along its edges while children splash and shout, their voices bouncing off the surrounding hills. Everything about this place feels alive, bright, joyful. But beneath the laughter, beneath the music, there's something older here. Long before the rides were built, before the crowds came, this land had a different story. One that wasn't filled with cheers, but with conflict, loss, and something that never really left. And as the sun begins to dip behind the mountains, casting long shadows across the park, you might start to notice not every presence here is part of the show. This is Shawnee Amusement Park.
I was kind of excited that it was giving that, not circus, what's the other one called? Carnival vibe.
Oh, carnival vibe. Yeah, Shawnee Amusement Park, I think, was carnival-esque because it was just a local small amusement park. And it wasn't big, but it was just something families did come from all around to enjoy because it did have the games, it did have the Ferris wheel, it did have the swings and the games and all of the things. Like, it was just a fun, you spent all day there.
Although it can be creepy.
I think amusement parks often are creepy. I don't know what that is about. However, maybe it's just the lingering presence. I feel like if I was a ghost, I'd want to end up at an amusement park. Just the laughter and joy. Like, why wouldn't you want to be there?
Just like you wanted to be at Disney.
Exactly.
When you die, you want to go to Disneyland as a ghost.
I mean, Autumn and her amusement parks. I have to throw one in every
season. Yeah.
Do you know there's like a lot of abandoned amusement parks in the United States? We could do a road trip of just abandoned amusement parks.
I feel like photography wise, that would be very interesting. But as far as investigation wise, I think it might get old to investigate one type of place like
Over
every
and over
stop.
and over.
Yeah.
Long before the Ferris wheel ever turned, before the pool filled with splashing kids, this ground held a much darker story. We're going all the way back to 1783. This was frontier land, tense, unpredictable, and often violent. The first European settler came in and was like, "This is mine," which was often done, right? But this isn't a political podcast, so I'm just going to fly right by that. This guy's name was Mitchell Clay, and he lived here on this land with his family on 800 acres of wild, rolling land. One day he is off hunting with his friends, and at that point, some Native Americans decide to raid his home, and his family has 16 kids.
Wow.
Yeah. So in this raid, the family is torn apart, right? There's chaos. People are running different directions, trying to get away, trying to hide. Two of the children, Bartley and Tabitha, end up getting killed in this raid. They were unfortunately killed and scalped. Tabitha tried to help save her brother because she saw what was happening, and then she also died. The Native Americans took the youngest brother, Ezekiel, and he was captured and he was marched away. And then the dad comes home from hunting and sees there's 2 dead kids. He goes off looking for Ezekiel. He finds the raiders and he gets mad, and there's a massacre. Things happen, and then he finds Ezekiel has been burnt at the stake.
Wow.
And he brings his kid back, and the 3 of them are buried together, just paces away from the amusement park itself. So some versions of the story say that Clay went after those responsible, like the story I just told you, while other accounts tell something quieter, something almost more haunting, and that's that he didn't choose revenge, and instead he went to meet with the Shawnee chief to try to make peace, and all he wanted was to be able to bury his children and have the body of his son back. So there's two very different endings, and both end in the same tragedy. It's just a sad, sad story to the beginning of Shawnee Amusement Park.
Among the stories that we tell, I always, even though I'm not a parent myself, feel some of the worst pain I know that has to be for a parent to go through is to lose a child, and
Yeah,
to lose three of them. I mean, yeah,
all at once.
you have 16, but you never imagine you're going to lose any of them. No parent wants to see any child die before them, right?
Right.
It's
Yeah, I
just
can't imagine. So, fast forward more than a century, it's 1926 when we started our story. An entrepreneur named Conley Trigg Sidow Sr. looks at this
I
land.
love some of these old names sometimes that we have. Holy
Yeah.
cow.
I know. That just seems like a carnival guy, right?
Right.
Conley Trigg Sidow. He looks at this land and he sees something completely different. Opportunity, joy, escape. And he's most likely very unaware of its, Native American history. He decides he's going to build an amusement park. So you've got a Ferris wheel rising above the trees. You got a swing ride, a racetrack, a dance hall, and even cabins where families could stay overnight, which was kind of like extraordinary in this time. So there's a massive swimming pool, concession stands, everything you would want for a summer day or a summer weekend retreat in the mountains. And it works. Families come in droves, especially the coal mining families in the area. For them, this was their escape, right? This was their Disney. This was their King's Dominion, Six Flags, their weekend holiday. It was a place to laugh, to cool off, and to forget how hard life could be. So this is where our story takes a different turn, because Shawnee wasn't just built on dark history, it started to create its own.
Dun dun dun.
So by the 1950s, what was supposed to be this joyful escape for families started becoming something else. Accidents started happening, and these accidents weren't the kind that people stopped talking about. One of the most well known is about a little girl on the swing ride, which, if you're, I feel like our age or older, you've probably ridden the swing ride yourself, right? It's those swings that go in a circle and
On
your
the
swing kind
long
of flies
chains.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you go sideways and it feels like you're a flying bird and it's so fun. They don't really have those at amusement parks anymore, just like the old timey ones, but it was so fun. So this girl is on the swings. Her name is Emmeline Schrader. She's laughing, pretending she's a bird, going in circles, completely carefree. And at the same time, just a few feet away, there's a delivery truck backing up, bringing supplies into the park concession stands. And as the truck is backing up, it backs up into the arc of the ride. And the poor girl just hit the back of the truck. And
Wow.
she's killed right there on impact. It's basically a car accident, right? But you're not in a
Well,
car.
yeah, because those swings are probably moving at least 30 miles per hour, I would guess.
Probably. I'm not sure, but even if a truck is just backing up and your body is forcefully thrown into the back of a truck, that's not something anyone can live through. That's the kind of moment that freezes a time and place, not only for her family, but for the other riders, the park goers that saw this happen.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
And then it expands into the whole county and state that people have know this story happened.
We'll talk about a deep seated fear that you would have the rest of your life for swings. If you were
Right.
on those and that happened around you in front of you.
Right. You don't even have to be on the swings. You can just witness that happening. Ugh, horrible. So that wasn't the only tragedy. There was also a young boy, George Wythe, at the swimming pool. He was playing in the water and somehow his arm became trapped in the pool's drain system.
Mm,
He couldn't get free and he drowned under the swimming pool before anyone noticed he was stuck.
that's one we've heard of before in other pools. That's happened a
Mhm.
lot.
There was also another drowning of a boy who was on one of the canoes, and the canoe capsized, and they just couldn't find him in the water fast enough. So there are reports and stories of actually 6 different deaths in the park over like a 2-decade span. So those are the 3 most famous ones.
Mm-hmm.
So now you've got this place that was built for families and for laughter, and suddenly the kind of energy has shifted. It's tied now to the deaths of these children, and it's just different. People don't forget that. You don't ride the swings the same way after something like that. Like you said, you don't send your kid into the pool without thinking twice about it. In 1967, Shawnee closed its doors after failing a health and safety inspection. So just like that, the rides stop, the gates close, and the laughter fades, and the deaths fade into distant memory. And then in the 1980s, ironically, a former Shawnee Park employee who worked there as a teenager, his name was Gaylord White, he wants to reopen the park. So he buys it, which is
Mm-hmm.
so cool, right? Or like you're a teenager, you're like, I love this place. It was so great for me. I worked here. I'm gonna buy it. So he's reopening it, and it's alive again for 3 years. But then insurance costs to run an amusement park just get too much money, and he has to close it. He's gonna attempt to turn the land into something different because he now owns this. So he sends out crews to turn over the land, and they are digging into the soil, and they start uncovering artifacts, bracelets, clothing, tools, all of this stuff they start finding. And then they also find the skeleton remains of 13 people, mostly children.
Mm.
They call in some archaeologists, and they decide that they believe that 2 Native American settlements existed on the property throughout the centuries. And they believe that this site is actually a burial ground and contains as many as 3,000 people on the property.
3,000. Wow.
Yeah. So they stop digging and turning over the property. This ignites a bunch of old memories, it stirs old stories, and the people start digging into the history of the land that had been forgotten while it was amusement park, right? And this is where all of the story about the raids and the first European settlers come out, and memories start being like, oh yeah, there was people here before this was amusement park. So rather than develop the land, the White family chooses to leave it how it is. The swings remain, swaying gently in the breeze, and the Ferris wheel is now shrouded behind a curtain of vines. But you can't do anything. You can't like disrupt, this hollowed ground to do
Mm-hmm.
something else, and you can't restart the amusement park either on top of it. So you just have this land that
Mm-hmm.
can be nothing really. Today, side note, they actually allow tours and they allow investigations to be done. And then they use the money that they get from that and donate it to local nonprofits. Isn't
Oh,
that cool?
that's nice. Yeah.
Yeah. So then we have this history, right? This history that's been alive all along, desperately trying to make itself known. We have this question of the raids and the massacres that happened on the property, if they are lurking now darkness, if they're somehow connected to the tragedies that continued to happen while it was amusement park. People are starting to ask these questions. So of course, a bunch
You want
of
to know what my question is?
yeah.
Why is it all kids related?
Yeah, interesting, right?
The burial grounds would have included adults too, so I get that. But the bodies or skeletons, remains that were uncovered were children. The thing
Mostly
that
children.
happened, yeah, the thing that happened with the family that originally lived there were children. The
Hmm.
amusement park, of course, being what it was children that passed.
And that's why people started connecting, like, was that original raid somehow a curse on this land that
Mm.
targeted children, right? Is it somehow connected? That's what people are trying to figure out. So we have lots of reports. The most reoccurring story is the ghost of the little girl Emmeline who died riding the swings. Visitors claim her spirit lingers near the same swing where she died. There's a red ribbon tied to the iron chains of the very swing she was sitting on. However, she sometimes prefers the swing next to hers, which has this faded owl ornament on it, which was once a part of the playground that was on the site. And investigators and tourists who have stood nearby have watched this like ornament spin and dance around when there's no wind and it's not rustling anything else. Some people swear that it twirls faster or slower or even drops limply as though it was being held and then a little hand has like abandoned it. There are often whispers of child's laughter drifting through the rusted gates as if the laughter never left. And some who have filmed the area at night claim to have captured a faint white figure dressed in what looks like a child's old dress just beyond the edge of the swing set. And that has been captured and seen by many, many people. This is like an apparition that appears very often. Investigations often see this apparition a lot, like run by. So,
Any photographs, like orbs or anything that way?
no, but I'm going to tell about an investigation at the end. A few yards away, where still waters reflect the haunted sky, lies a spot tied to the other tragic death, the young boy who drowned in the swimming pool. So people say his presence isn't so much tied to the water as it is near the entrance of the park. There's this white plastic pinwheel fastened to an old ticket booth that bends when there's no breeze, and as people get closer to it, it spins faster, and as they go away, it spins slower, and it will spin in response to like people asking the entity to spin the wheel.
Ooh, it's like the balloon. It's using like current,
Yeah,
like
it's like a
wind.
toy, or it's
Mm-hmm.
like a toy. It's like, I want to play with these toys, right? Which I'll
Mm-hmm.
get to toys in a minute. So brilliant orbs float across photographs, sometimes streaking like they're racing towards the viewer, other times hovering in stillness as if watching. Paranormal investigators report that the orbs that they're seeing don't behave like dust or bugs, but they appear intentionally as if they're reacting to something. Then there's been EVP recordings that have picked up children laughing, disembodied whispers, and most unnervingly, there's been a lot of Native America chanting. Visitors have watched the skeletal remains of the Ferris wheel shift, the metal groaning softly through the air as the air sits stagnant, and some swear that they've seen a man sitting in the gondola at the 9 o'clock position, which is car number 10. He stares motionless, staring outward, and when they get closer, he's gone. And he's also been seen by multiple investigators and people.
I don't know what to say about that because you don't have like an account of an adult death that way.
Right. But it's kind of like goes back to what we said, what where like if you just love the park, maybe it's the
Yeah, maybe you
original
come back
owner.
to it. Yeah.
Maybe he's
Mm-hmm.
like, I owned this park and I loved it.
It could
And
be.
I
Yeah.
he's just hanging out there. At the swings, there's a lot of cold ice spots where the temperature drop you can feel on your skin. The swings will begin to sway independently, so just like one swing at a time. Yeah, like slow and rhythmic, which remind me of that Harry Potter scene where he's like
Yeah.
at the park and they're swinging like opposite of
Yeah.
each
Before
other.
the night bus comes and the
Yeah,
grim. Yeah.
right, exactly. So there's no movement other than like one swing, which is like so unnerving for some reason.
You're like,
Oh,
what is happening?
yeah.
Ghost children.
So, ironically, Gaylord, who's the man who is the employee who bought the property in the 1980s, he has had many recorded experiences of his own. He grew up there, right? He worked there as a teenager, and decades later, he bought the property, so he's had a lot of time there.
Mm-hmm.
He spoke often of someone touching his shoulder when no one was behind him, a tug on the shirt, a brush along his arm, as though a child was trying to get his attention. His most chilling encounter happened while clearing brush from the abandoned playground. He was sitting on top of his tractor and he looked up and he froze because he saw a little girl standing beside the swings. She was in a pink dress with ruffled sleeves and was completely silent. He blinked and she didn't move and she didn't flicker. She was simply watching the tractor with quiet fascination, the way a child watches something loud and new. So Gaylord got out of the tractor. He started walking away, and he says, "Let her have it." She seemed like watching it so much, and it has like stayed in that same place ever since.
Huh.
So
Interesting.
he later came to believe, of course, that this was the spirit of the little girl, Emmeline, who died in the swing accident. In 2005, Lake Shawnee was no longer a local legend. It became national news. The ABC series Scariest Places on Earth brought a crew and psychics and equipment and a lot of other fun stuff. And one psychic refused to step foot on the grounds because she said the spiritual energy was too strong and too overwhelming. Crew members filming the show refused to walk the property alone at night, saying that they always heard footsteps behind them and they saw shapes and movement dart between the rides. One cameraman in particular, he full on quit after he saw a full-bodied shadow cross directly in front of him and block out his entire viewfinder.
I really like when we have stories of adults who are quitting their jobs because of ghosts. There's so many of these, like construction workers who walk off the job, cameramen who are like, nope, not happening. Good luck with
Right.
that. You
I just
know,
love how they're like, nope, bye. The other entity that's been seen is a 7-foot shadow man near the edge of the park. He's said to be watching from the edge. He's not menacing or scary, but he just watches people. And people have also said that they feel lots of eyes watching them from the perimeter of the park. So there's no shortage of full body apparitions in this location. Lots of reports on Reddit. There was tons of TV shows. You might remember there was a Destination Fear episode where they stopped at Shawnee Amusement Park to read a packet. They weren't even investigating it. They heard screams and laughing. They weren't even investigating, and they were
I
like,
vaguely
what?
remember what you're talking about. I don't remember
Yeah,
the evidence, like them hearing something, but I'm sure.
because they weren't investigating it. It's like they're reading the packet, and over
Mhm.
them reading, you can hear like screams and laughter. So I watched Portals of Hell with Jack Osborne, and he does a whole episode in Shawnee Amusement Park.
Mhm.
They invite a historian and Native American spiritualist to the site, and this spiritualist has no doubt that some of the energy on the land is due to its aggressive history from the moment when white settlers took the land for themselves. They also bring in a medium, and she immediately picks up on the eyes and figures watching from the perimeter that are connected to the land, as well as the like massacre or riot that happened in the very beginning. The team, Jack and his team, they are walking from one side of the park to the other. Two of the production members, one cameraman and someone else, are like, "What the heck?" Like they start freaking out, and Jack's like, "What? What?" And he was just filming through his camera, right, as they're walking,
Mhm.
and he sees a figure that he catches through his lens that is shadowed as like a headlight comes across. So there's a road near the perimeter, and this car
Mhm.
drives by, and when the car drives by, the headlight shines on a black figure, and they caught it on camera because that's how he sees it, and they slow it down, and it is legit a person like standing on the perimeter.
Ooh, so weird. That's supposed to be the 7-foot one.
Yeah, I mean, it could be what people are seeing, or just, the eyes that people are
Mhm.
like, I feel watched, right, all the time.
Yeah.
So that's pretty creepy, pretty
Did you say
creepy,
pretty
pretty,
creepery?
pretty creepery. There's another new word. There's also some REM pod action, and I think their REM pod is pretty good. They're like talking to kids, right? Supposedly.
Mhm.
So they say, if you do this and make this light up, then we'll give you a toy and we'll leave it here. And like for every time that the spirit interacts with the REM pod, they like leave a toy or like blow up a balloon or like have a slinky or something,
Mhm.
which I think is like pretty good. And it interacts with them boom, boom, boom. They also, when they initially turn on their REM pods, they set it on the swing with the red ribbon, and
Mhm.
it freaks out. Like the REM pod is like going
I'm
off.
assuming that they then try to set it on another swing too, I hope, to see
Yeah,
if it
so they
does.
they reset it, turn it back on. It does the same thing. They take out the batteries, put new batteries on, it does the same thing. So they get out a second REM pod and sit it near it, and they both stop. Yeah. So they
Weird.
were like, they reset it, they changed the batteries, they have no answer for it. So you have REM pod interaction, they hear mumblings coming from the woods around the perimeter of where the burial ground is said to be. And it's all in all like a pretty excellent episode if you have time to watch it. Everybody, it's season 2, episode 17. Definitely go check that out. So
I'm
as
gonna
I
go
did
check
all
it out.
yeah, as I did all this research and watched some of the shows, my opinion is I don't think it's demonic or evil at all. And it
I
goes back.
thought you were gonna say my opinion is I don't think it's haunted. I was about to be like, what?
I I don't think it's haunted. I think I can debunk everything in the
Do you
no.
do you remember when we used to watch Ghost Hunters though?
Yeah.
And you would give all this evidence like, okay, well we had this voice and we're gonna show you this thing that happened. We have it on video. And they were like, but we don't think it's haunted. Sorry, but
Yes.
no.
Guys, go back and watch like season 1 and 2 of the original Ghost Hunters because they were the original debunkers. So
Mhm.
they're always like, all in all, it's not haunted. And it's so funny. I think we would laugh every time.
We
They would
think
get
this could just be explained by normal things, or we can't rule out that it wasn't this. So
not
it's probably not
haunted.
haunted.
It's just such a different style than their like later episodes.
Sorry to interrupt you. Continue on.
So I don't feel like it's demonic or evil. And it kind of goes back to your location, where, again, I feel like the most terrifying places sometimes aren't with demons or evil entities. It's the places with some of the most terrifying or horrific pasts. And
Or
this is
heartbreaking, yeah.
yeah, and this is a burial ground that hasn't really been maintained and treated as a burial ground for thousands of years.
Hmm.
So if you just think of that kind of energy that's sitting there, and it just really needs to be kept for what it is. And I'm sure that's the spirit entities that are watching over the land. They're like disgruntled of
Hmm.
what it's become, but they know they also can't really do anything about it. So,
Well, if it were me having been buried there, I would have been kind of pissed off if these outsiders came in and put in like an amusement park over me and all these other people that were part of my community.
yeah, without respecting that it was once their home. And it's kind of like if I think about it, I'm like, I wouldn't be too upset if someone built an amusement park over me because that sounds fun. However, it was a different culture. It's a different time
Hmm.
period. They don't understand that that was meant to be like joyful and like a happy place. They just see it as an intrusion to something that was supposed to be sacred.
It's as if somebody were to come into your home, break everything, steal everything, turn it into their home, and then create happy
Hmm.
memories. That wouldn't make you happy. Like,
Right.
you
Like
wouldn't be
this isn't
happy
where I was
that they were
supposed to
there being
be.
happy.
Yeah, true. Good point. So that's my story. I would definitely go to our page that's housing this episode on our website, boostsisters.com, and look at the pictures because the pictures itself just make it more creepy.
Hmm.
What's your rating?
I give it a hard 3. No, I'm serious though. I would say it's up there. Definitely a 3 for me because again, I really feel like spirits that are connected to the land, possibly elementals or Native American spirits in general. I think that that's something that should be sacred and isn't necessarily something that we should want to investigate. But then you've
Hmm.
got the other spirits there that are potentially children who have passed away and that I feel bad for them and it would be hard to investigate those, but at the same time if some part of them remains and you can bring them a toy and bring them that little spark of joy or entertainment or anything like that or help them move on in any capacity, then I think that would be worth it. And the scariest thing to me that makes it more of a 3 again is like the looming figures on the outside edges
That you don't
watching,
have
you know.
much information about, right?
Yeah,
It's the
it's not the
unknown.
children, it's those unknown entities.
I would say a 3 too. I don't like to I don't know, mess around isn't the right word, but mess around with Native American energy. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
really think that should be left alone and left sacred. And that's hard to do, right? Because the whole land we currently occupy is their home, is could potentially be a burial ground, could have been used for a sacred spot. This is a side note, but I really love like the organizations or buildings that have done research to see what Native Americans occupied their land so they can give respect as much as they can. So probably a 3. I think whoever's there is just there to A, still enjoy it as it was once an amusement park, or
Mm-hmm.
B, to protect it.
Yeah.
It's not scary as much as just the tragedy that happened there would still permeate
Yes,
the land.
permanent. And to be clear, we're not saying, and I know you're not saying this, so I'm speaking for you. We're not saying that Native American spirits are inherently evil or bad or anything like that that makes them more scary. It's just that there's this lapse in like communication or understanding with spirits of that kind. We don't understand that culture. We don't understand where they come from. So that inherently makes it a little bit more frightening because
Well,
even
I don't even think it's scary. I think it's like out of respect. Like out of
well, I think it's
respect,
a little scary and I want to respect it. But
right,
you
out of respect, we
oftentimes
don't
want to
understand it.
respect the things that you don't understand and find scary. That's a smart thing to do.
I mean, if only people actually did that.
Right.
Like respect the things you don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
That's a whole podcast on its own.
And with that, we're done with season. What is this? 3, 4? What are we on? 4.
4, season 4. That's a wrap. Great. And I'm excited to do our next season. Maybe we'll have a few summer pop-up episodes just for fun, just to entice people right now to hit those subscribe buttons so you don't
Because you
miss
never
a one-off
know.
episode.
One
Just
might
hit
just
those subscribe.
happen. And if you're not
Yeah.
subscribed, you're not going to figure it out.
And truly, the biggest thing you could do for us is just leave a nice comment, leave a nice review, leave a nice rating on whatever it is you're listening to so other people can find this community, which is all about preserving the history. So I really appreciate you. We appreciate you.
And finding a place to belong because we're all weird here.
Yeah, exactly. So with that,
Thanks for listening. And as always,
happy
happy hunting.
haunting.